Part 2, The Burned Gods. The war did not begin suddenly. It seeped in slowly, like a low-grade fever that no one takes seriously. First came the speeches, then the symbols, and finally, the weapons. By the time Lysian realized it, he had been marching for years through fields that once grew wheat and now knew only blood. He had learned early that to survive meant to obey. Thinking too much cost time? Questioning cost lives? The sword in his hand was not a choice, but an extension of the collective fear that drove this world. Tired of empty promises. The cities they passed through all had the same face. Cracked walls, abandoned temples, children too quiet for their age. The gods were still mentioned, but only as tradition names repeated without faith. Prayers uttered without expectation of an answer. Lysian vaguely remembered when he used to believe. As a child, he would watch the statues in the shrines and feel something pulse in his chest, as if seen by something greater. Over time, that feeling was replaced by discipline, steel, and orders shouted at dawn. The army always advanced. Even when there was no territory left to conquer, it advanced. The war had become an autonomous organism, hungry for movement, unable to remain in silence without devouring itself from within. It was during one of these endless marches that Lysian began to hear. At first, he thought it was exhaustion, a distant hum, almost imperceptible, mixed with the wind tearing through tattered banners. But there was a rhythm to that sound, a cadence too ancient to be mere chance. At night, while the others slept or drank to forget, he remained awake. The song emerged in those moments, faint as a whisper forgotten between the ages. It brought no clear words, only a profound sadness that seemed to recognize his existence. He tried to ignore it. Ignoring had always been his greatest skill, but the sound returned night after night, clearer, closer. It didn't come from outside. It came from within, like a memory he had never truly lived. During a battle on the plains of Aderon, something changed. The combat was brutal, direct, with no strategy other than to advance until the other side fell. Lysian felled an enemy, and looking him in the face, saw the same fear he knew so well reflected back. The instant his blade hesitated, the song exploded in his mind. Not as a melody, but as pain. An avalanche of ancient voices crying out in unison, laden with frustration, abandonment, and guilt. He almost fell, recovered by instinct, finished the blow, and kept fighting. But something had been shattered. The war continued around him, but Lysian was no longer completely inside it. That night he vomited far from the camp, not from wounds, but from the weight of something he couldn't name. He felt watched, judged not by men or commanders, but by something ancient, patient, and tired. The dreams began after that. Dreams of temples in ruins, of altars covered in dust, of giant figures kneeling as if asking for forgiveness. There was always fire, there was always silence after the collapse. In one of these dreams, he clearly heard a phrase, "When the gods burn." The world learns to scream. Lysian woke with his heart racing. The song was no longer distant. It now pulsed along with his breath, matching every heartbeat like an inevitable reminder. The commander noticed the change. Lysian was quieter, more attentive, less cruel. This was not seen as a virtue. In war, compassion was a structural flaw. "You're going soft," they told him. He didn't answer. For the first time, he felt no need to prove anything. As they advanced into more devastated territories, the world seemed to sicken. The sky grew heavier, nights longer. Animals fled even before the armies arrived, as if sensing something beyond human violence. That's when the song changed. From lament, it became a call. It no longer begged for attention, it demanded it. Something was approaching. It's not a visible enemy, but an inevitable consequence. On the eve of the great battle, the song ceased. The silence that followed was more terrifying than any scream. And it was in that absolute emptiness that Lysian knew the next step would not be a choice of men. It would be the world's response. The march began before dawn. The sky still carried the weight of the night, and synchronized footsteps replaced all conversation. There was a strange silence among the soldiers, laden with anticipation. The valley they entered was narrow and ancient. Jagged hills surrounded the terrain, and rocks darkened by time seemed to observe the army's passage. To Lysian, this place no longer wished to witness bloodshed. The attack came without warning. Arrows cut the air, steel met flesh, and chaos took hold with brutal speed. Lysian's body reacted before his mind, driven by reflexes forged by war. At the center of the valley, he saw the temple. Half buried, cracked, forgotten, an explosion brought the columns crashing down, and the statues of the ancient gods shattered, releasing a golden dust that shimmered in the air before vanishing. In that instant, the song became audible to everyone. It was not a command, nor a threat, but an ancient and weary lament. Some soldiers dropped their weapons. Others shouted, trying to drown out what they heard. That night, among ruins and wreckage, Lysian knelt before a shattered stone face. "Did you ever truly exist?" he murmured. The song responded, not with words, but with presence. The following days were marked by silent tension. The army advanced, but without conviction. The song was now constant, vibrating in the background of reality like an exposed nerve. On the eve of the final confrontation, the camp spread across a ravaged plain. No insects, no wind. The world seemed to be on vigil. Lysian felt the call, not as an order, but as a certainty. Something was about to rupture. When the battle began, there was no glory, only impact, explosions, and chaos. And when the enemy retreated, there was no victory. The horizon turned gray. The wind carried a distant lament, almost human. Lysian looked up and began to listen. End of part 2. Subscribe to the channel and receive more videos like this. Thank you for watching.